Well, hey, my friend. Welcome to Creatives on Fire, the go-to podcast for content creators looking to grow their audience as well as their income. I'm so excited you're here. I'm your host, Melanie Ferguson. Welcome back to the podcast, you guys. I am over the moon excited to introduce you guys to this week's guest. It is Tony Hill. And he is a Nashville, Tennessee. I don't know why I tried to say Texas. I guess that's because what I'm partial to since I'm here. Tennessee. And he lives with his wife and daughter and precious little toy golden doodle Poppy. And I'm excited for you to share with us all of your genius having to do with Pinterest. Tony, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me, Melanie.
You're so welcome. All right, so let's just jump right in if that's okay with you. Tell us your little bit of backstory, kind of how you got to where you're doing what you're doing today.
Yeah, so as you know, I focus a lot on Pinterest traffic. So I like to drive traffic from Pinterest to my websites, and I make money through advertisements on the sites. And I kind of stumbled into it, to be honest. I first learned about Pinterest way back in the day when my wife and we were getting married, and she was using it to like save wedding stuff and all that. And so she invited me to it, and so I kind of got a feel for the platform. But that was kind of my experience. And then fast forward several years later, and I had a website that I had launched, and I was primarily focused on Google traffic and really got into doing SEO for Google. But there was also a lot of overlap with this kind of content doing well on Pinterest. So I started to get some Pinterest traffic and wasn't even trying. And so once I started to focus on Pinterest, then that's when things really started to take off for me. I started to apply a lot of my like Google SEO skills to Pinterest to try to figure out how it works and send more traffic. And so I've been doing that and focusing more on it these days because Google does not like niche sites, smaller blogs for whatever reason. And so a lot of us are positioning ourselves to focus more on other platforms like Pinterest.
I agree. And I love that because that is the hot topic, of course, is that Pinterest being the favorite now and what everybody's kind of rushing over to. If you had to ask me what my favorite thing about Pinterest is that it's not Google. But I'm going to ask you, Tony, what do you think is your favorite thing about using Pinterest as a platform?
Yeah. So a couple of things. One, the ad RPMs are typically higher than what you would get from, say, Google traffic. So you don't need as much traffic as you would from Google to make as much money. So that's great. And it's a source of free traffic. I love that. You can buy ads. If you sell products, ads can be a great revenue channel to go through to start driving traffic as well. And then, just being able to, I feel like it kind of levels the playing field. Like with Google, it's like there's that number one position and that's it. And it's either you're number one, you're getting most of the traffic, or you're not. Whereas with Pinterest, you really get a shot at getting your pins and your content in front of a lot of people. And they've got a search engine, but it's a lot more fluid than what Google is like. And so, yeah, I think it just has a lot of potential to send a lot of traffic, and it's not a zero-sum game.
I love that. And that's actually 3 huge points that I'd never thought of before. So thank you. That's so insightful. I love it. Okay. So speaking of insightful, I have a lot of new bloggers that listen as well as seasoned bloggers. And I would just like to find out from you, for anyone who is just getting started or maybe isn't really ready to go all in and do their blog, all niche, all AI, what is some tips for getting a little bit more traffic from Pinterest?
Yeah. So right now, there's a lot of AI content on Pinterest. A lot of creators are starting to leverage AI to create content. And some people love that. Some people hate it. My good friend Carly Campbell, she's another Pinterest person, and she started a new site recently, and she's not using AI content at all, whereas I mostly use AI content. And that new account is doing really well with Pinterest. She's getting quite a bit of traffic, a couple thousand clicks a day, I think, from Pinterest, significant revenue. And she just knows her audience really well, and she understands the platform really well. And so taking the time to understand the platform, like one of the best things you could do, I think, is to download the Pinterest app and start interacting with it. Start looking at the home feed and see how it populates for you and what kind of pins are showing up and what kind of topics. Go to Pinterest trends and start searching some of those trends on the app, at least logged in somewhere, and just start to see how the platform works, what kind of content is showing up in front of you to get a better feel for how you could possibly tweak your content to work for Pinterest, whether that's with AI or not. I think you'll still see a mix of content that's some's AI, some of it is not. So there's still content out there that's hard to have AI recreate. And that's a great advantage, in my opinion, for a lot of bloggers out there, especially if you do like DIY stuff and anything visual in nature. Yeah, it's really hard for AI to do that. And I think there's definitely going to be a community of people who will mostly want to see human created content. And I don't know, maybe like one day you just like slap a label on top of all your blog posts saying like 100% human made content, you know,
I
versus like
love
in
that.
how there's some people right now that are putting that label of like this content was created by AI or edited by AI. Yeah.
That's so fun. And I love Carly, guys. I will link our episode below in case you missed the interview with Carly. She is doing some amazing things as well over with Tony regarding Pinterest. And that brings me to some of your solutions. So you've kind of, well, let me backtrack a little bit. So you were talking about getting into the platform and actually getting a feel for the layout and the playing field, because I am shocked by sometimes the number of people that I hear have just they just hire it out like instantly. And I feel like you might agree that you should get in there and really see what it is that you're working with. How will you otherwise know how to judge if they're doing a good job? Or, I always say, listen, anyone can say your account grew when it starts at zero. And so I love the idea of getting in there, and you have some tools that can actually help us with that. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, for sure. So I built my own tools for Pinterest, and I thought, well, I think others could get some value out of these tools. And if not, whatever, I'm still going to use it. So I built a tool called Pinclicks. And one of the things that I launched early on was the ability to put in any keyword or topic into this tool. And it's going to show you the top ranking pins at that time on Pinterest. Because again, they have a search engine, and like a third of their users, how they interact with pins, come from search. So tons of searches on the platform. And we're going to show you the ones that like are ranking well. They've got lots of saves, which is a key signal that Pinterest looks at, is are people saving your pins? And I like to study those designs. I like to look at the pin design style, the image, how they're using their text, the headlines, that kind of stuff. Because I like to model what is working, but also try to add in my own unique flair to it, you could say. So that was just a really helpful tool for me to build, just to understand what's working well. Because I think one of the worst things one could do is use like a third party Pinterest, pen creator tool is creating these designs based on little information and little data, or finding Canva templates, that kind of stuff, that you just don't know if it's going to work well in your particular niche. And that's where I just recommend looking at different keywords within your niche that people are searching for on Google and probably on Pinterest, and seeing what those pins look like and studying like what is resonating with your audience versus kind of blindly going into it and outsourcing it to someone else and having them choose your designs.
I agree. And I have been using Pinclicks for a hot minute, and I'm absolutely in love with it. I wouldn't even begin to open up my Pinterest and start pinning without consulting my Pinclicks app, or it's not an app, but my platform first. And my question with that was, so how does your tool differ from, say, going into a platform like Ahrefs or Ubersuggest and asking it for keywords?
Yeah. So Ahrefs and like SEMrush, those tools are primarily for Google, right? And so you can put in any website domain name in there, and it's going to show you keywords they rank for, and it's also going to give you keyword ideas. So that's basically what I'm building, but it's for Pinterest. Like that's my goal. I've got some big plans for this tool as a way to just do smarter research. So I kind of lived in SEMrush for a long time doing Google SEO, and just basically like reverse engineering, like what are other people doing? What keywords are they also targeting? And so I just need that for Pinterest as well. And so that's what I'm leaning towards. And so yeah, those other tools are great for Google. If you're still getting Google traffic, awesome. If not, then that's where a tool like Pinclicks can be really helpful.
Yes, yes. And speaking of helpful, you also have a course that I took that I found to be just blew me out of the water. I've taken Carly's course and now your course, and I feel that they both definitely have a place in your tool belt. So tell us a little bit about your course and the thought behind that.
Yeah. So the course, I created that because I had a lot of people honestly just asking. I have a newsletter. I've been on a few podcasts talking about my Pinterest strategy. I posted some stuff on Twitter about how I'm doing Pinterest. And then like every week, at least once a week, I would just have someone ask me like, hey, when are you going to come out with a course? Because they understand that I'm not giving out all the details and the nuances to it because there's a lot to cover. So I finally created one. It's almost at 100 lessons right now, which is a lot, recognize, but I'm trying to leave no stone unturned with it. And I still have more lessons that I continue to add to it. But I also have a like free 1 hour long Pinterest masterclass. And this was like one of the first things that I had just publicly released as far as kind of a good high level overview of my strategy. And if anyone can check out that free masterclass, and I'm sure we'll have a link to that, and you can watch that. And if you feel like that resonates with how you like to create content and your particular niche, then that will give you a really good idea on what the course will cover in more detail.
I agree. And I would totally recommend diving straight into the free course. And then, of course, following that up with the paid course, because this is going to be kind of how you are going to keep up with all of the changes. Because, like Tony mentioned, he is updating it as things come around and just kind of making everything timely, which I also love about Pinclicks. You mentioned that the tool is actually almost real time with kind of what's happening with pins on the platform and what's the most popular, what's getting saved the most. So speaking of free, I know you mentioned the introduction course, but what about tell us a little about you said there's a tool that is with Pinclicks
Yeah.
and
So we've got a free tool with Pinclicks. What it is, it's a little search engine of the top 20,000 topics on Pinterest. I one day kind of stumbled onto this section of the Pinterest website that wasn't really designed for humans, I don't think. And I found that there was like 20,000 topics that it was listing out. And a lot of them were matching up with what you would see in the Pinterest Trends tool. But the Pinterest Trends tool isn't going to show you that many. And you have to like kind of know what you're doing in the tool. And so that's where I wanted to bring those 20,000 topics. I did quickly downloaded them in case that was a mistake Pinterest made of showing those publicly. And I put them in this little search tool. And basically my suggestion is if you're considering Pinterest, you have a blog, you probably already have some ideas of topics you've covered before on your blog, and start typing those into this tool to see what starts popping up. If you start seeing a lot of overlap of the content you're already creating, the topics you're covering, and then they're also popping up in this tool, then you've got a pretty good shot at getting a decent amount of Pinterest traffic to your existing blog posts. And like once you figure out what's getting traffic from Pinterest to your existing blog posts, then that will give you some clues on some new topics you can cover that are highly related.
okay. So we are going to link to all of that stuff, all of the goodies below, the gold, the nuggets, the amazingness. All right. So Tony, you also have, speaking of free, because you are just full of graciousness and freebies, a podcast. Tell us about your podcast.
Yeah. So Carly Campbell and I recently launched a podcast and it's all about Pinterest. We thought that there was a little bit of a gap in the podcast world when it comes to Pinterest and all the content creators and bloggers out there wanting to get like up to date information and what's going on with Pinterest because the platform's changing so much these days. My goodness. And so I'm so glad that we launched the podcast. And honestly, it was secretly, I just like talking to Carly Campbell about Pinterest. I can talk to her for hours about it. And so it was just an excuse to go basically hang out with her every couple of weeks and we just happen to record the conversations and share it with everyone else. So we've got a few episodes up there already. And yeah, it's called Pin Talk. And I'm sure we'll have a link to that too. People can check that out.
Definitely, definitely. I listen every week. I love it. I think it's great. It's almost like you two are picking each other's brains and we just get to be the fly on the wall.
Yeah,
I love it.
exactly.
If you are a blogger right now and you have a traditional blog, I'm going to call it a traditional classic blog, and you have always in the past blogged for Google or just your audience, and you're wanting to pivot over to blogging for Pinterest, what would be your number one tip?
Ooh, good question. Yes, that would be understanding there's a big difference between what people are going to Google for versus what they're going to Pinterest for. So with Pinterest, people want to be inspired. They're looking for ideas. Yes, they have a search engine and people are searching on it, but they're going to Pinterest specifically and performing searches there. And what they're looking for is some sort of idea or inspiration that they want to either take action on now, like maybe they want to bake some sort of cake, right? And so they're looking for a good recipe for a chocolate cake. Or maybe they're going to do one in the future, but they're looking for some ideas. They're going to save those. Or they're just looking, they might remodel their home or their kitchen or something and looking for some ideas and inspiration. And whether they take action on it or not, but potential, if people like the potential, they like to dream, they like to plan, even though they might not execute on it. Still lots of people looking for ideas. So that's a big thing, is understanding every topic you're creating for Pinterest should come down to, is this an inspiring idea that someone can take action on? And so it's a little different than like the Google long tail stuff where it's like how to, change a light bulb, that kind of stuff. How to fix your dishwasher if it's not working. Those are all long tail Google queries that honestly blogs and niche sites can't rank for anymore these days. And they just don't work very well for Pinterest. So hopefully understanding the difference in what the user is going to the platform for is really going to be helpful, laying a good solid foundation on the type of content you're creating for the platform to have a really good success with it.
And if you're wanting to pivot, would you consider adding that new content to an existing blog, or would you recommend spinning off an entirely new one, especially if you're going to implement some AI strategies?
Yeah. It would probably be easier just to do something brand new. The cool thing about Pinterest is like it's less forgiving than Google when it comes to creating content that's very similar. Like with Google, you can't create redundant content that like overlaps, that you're targeting the keyword too closely, whatever. You gotta keep everything into one major article. Whereas Pinterest, they don't care about that kind of stuff. They love new pins. They love new blog posts that are coming out, and they tend to favor that a lot right now. And so, yeah, I would say come out with as many new blog posts as you can, even if it's just a tweaked version of something you've already created. And you can always have like a WordPress plugin that will block Google from seeing these like redundant topics that are slightly angled towards Pinterest. So you don't have to worry about that hurting your Google traffic if you are still getting Google traffic.
I love that tip. Just no index the ones that you're concerned about.
Yeah, there you go.
So don't start a whole new blog. Just work on, like, maybe try to grow the traffic of your current blog.
Yeah.
And just no index the ones that you're concerned about.
You got it.
So this has been awesome. I have a quick question. What do you see as the future for this platform?
Yeah, right now, the platform continues to grow in the number of active users that they have every single month. I keep up with the Pinterest quarterly earnings calls and where they're reporting all their numbers, their financials, but also their monthly active users. And they just continue to grow. And they're reaching a younger and younger audience. Gen Z, I guess, is really into Pinterest right now. And so as we know, like where that younger demographic is going can often be a great sign of like where the future is for a platform. And so, yeah, I just see that it will continue to grow and get bigger and better. And yeah, I'm definitely not going to sit on that and just continue to focus a lot of my time and energy towards Pinterest.
I love it. Well, Tony, this has been absolutely amazing. I never doubted. And I'm super excited to share all the links to all the goodies to the listeners today. And we appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you so much, my friend, for tuning in each and every week. If you learned something new or were inspired from today's episode, I would be incredibly grateful if you would take a minute and just leave a review. Bonus points if you share this episode by screenshotting it and tagging me on social at Creatives on Fire Podcast. I'll share you in my stories when you do. In the meantime, keep rocking your business, and don't forget, no one else will ever be you, and that is your creative superpower.